next question is question number 13, again an independent question. An article passes through 5 hand operations as follows. Operation number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 different operations, time available in minutes, different grades of workers and their hourly rates. This is what we have. The factory works for 40 hours a week. Factory works for 40 hours a week. And the production target is 600 dozens. 600 dozen. 1 dozen is 12 units. So basically they are planning to go for 7,200 units or 600 dozens. So if they give you data in terms of dozens, consider 600. If they give you data in terms of units, consider 7,200 units. 1 dozen is 12 units. Prepare a statement showing for each operation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Total number of operators required, labor cost per dozen, and the total labor cost per you are supposed to show the statement showing number of operators, labor cost per dozen is also supposed to be shown, and total labor cost per week to produce the targeted output. Actually, unless we know total labor cost, we can't go for this, no? Correct? So, we'll get the total here and then we can find out labor cost per dozen for each operation as well as total. It is as simple. You can, if you want, you can prepare a column also. I'm running short of space because my screen, there is a screen constraint. Okay. So you can prepare one column here and you can finish it off. Now, look at this. 15, 25, 10, 30, 20. 15, 25, 10, 30, 20. 15, 25, 10, 30, 20 minutes are required. 15, 25, 10, 30, 20. 15, 25, 10, 30, 20. $1,200. We are producing 7,200. But friends, if we do this, your answer will be in terms of minutes. We don't want minutes, we want number of hours. So how many minutes in an hour? 60. What if it is a leap year? 60 only. That will not change. So now I'll find out number of hours required for different quantity structure. Different grades. I need 1800 hours here. I need 3000 hours here. I need 1200 hours here. I need 3600 hours here. I need 2400 hours here. 1800 hours into 0.65. 1170. 1500. 480. 1260. 5130. You can open one more column here and divide it by 600. I don't have space. As I told you, there is a screen constant. So 1170, 1500. 1170, 1500, 480, 1260, and 720. This will give me cost per dozen, and this will give me 12 total cost per dozen, 5130 upon 600. Since they have asked for per dozen, I'm dividing by 600. Otherwise, per unit, had there been in the question, I would have divided this by 7,200. 1170 divided by 600. 1.95. This is what you have. Labor cost per dozen. What have they asked for? For each operation, correct? This part is pending. Number of operators. Hey, one worker can work for 40 hours. In a factory, only 40 hours work can be done. You are supposed to carry on 1800 hours workload. You are supposed to carry on 1800 hours workload. If one worker can work for 40 hours, to carry on 1800 hours workload, you need 45 workers to work with you. You want to carry on 3000 hours work with 40 hours. Thirty workers. One worker can work only for 40 hours. So to carry on 3600 hours load, I need one. Hey, what are you doing, man? Use Kelsey. 90 workers. And finally 2400 upon 40. 60. 60 plus 90 plus 30 plus 75 plus 45. 300 workers will be required to carry on the work. One worker can work for 40. Forty-five workers together can complete 1800 hours workload of grade 1, grade A in operation 1. For operation 2, I need grade B workers. 3000 hours work can be done by 75 workers together because each worker will work for 40 hours and so on. See the solution now. Let's move towards the next question, question number 16. During audit of a account of G Limited. Your assistant has found some errors in the calculation of wages of factory workers and he wants you to verify his work. If he wants you to verify his work, how would you do that? Now, to verify somebody's work, you must first know the right answer. Then only you can find out whether the work is done in a correct manner or not. Like for example, if you want to claim that I am solving wrong, you should know the right solution. If you know the right solution, then only you can comment, okay, Mayuresh is wrong. Correct? So if your assistant wants you to verify his work, you should know all right answers. Always remember that point. He has extracted the following. The contract provides that minimum wage for a worker is his base rate. It is also paid for downtimes. Downtime means power fluctuation, anything. They are ready to work. You cannot give them work. That means it's not their fault. And since it is not their fault, you have to pay them for that span of time. So even if there is a downtime, even if there is an idle time, you have to pay your workers for that. The standard work week is 40 hours. In a week, you are working for 40 hours. And for overtime production, workers are paid 150% of base rate. That means if your worker work for more than 40 hours, they will be paid at the rate of 150% of base rate. So if their rate is 100, they will be paid 150. If their base is 1000, they will be paid 1500. Only if there is an overtime. Straight piece work. The worker is paid at the rate of 20 per piece. If the worker is paid at the rate of 20 per piece, that means 20 per piece. That means 20 per piece is your piece rate. Normal piece rate is 20. There is third information, percentage bonus plan. My first information was about hourly rate, up to 40 hours, normal rate. Beyond 40 hours, 150% of the normal rate. My second method is piece rate, where piece rate is 20 rupees per department. The worker's average hourly production determined from his total hours worked and his production is divided by standard quantity of production to determine his efficiency ratio. The efficiency ratio is then applied as his base rate to determine his hourly earnings. There is some method given, percentage bonus plan, some weird information given. Of course, we'll be discussing that in detail, but later. Your assistant has produced the following schedule pertaining to certain workers on a weekly payroll. I hope you have realized what has happened. You have sent some of your assistant on audit. Now he feels that wages of Mohan, John and Harish are wrongly recorded. Listen to me carefully. Your assistant says wages of these three workers are wrongly recorded. And if he wants you to verify his work, don't you think you should know the right amount of wages which is paid to these workers? You can verify someone's work only if you know the right answer. So, your Mohan and John both are working on piece rate system. Harish is working on percentage bonus plan. Mohan has worked for 46 hours. John has worked for 44 hours. Can I say it is nothing but 40 plus? Can I say it is nothing but 40 plus 6 and 40 plus 4? So 40 hours will % of the original rate. Units produced. The team has produced 455 by Mohan, 425 by John, and 250 by Harish. Standard units, as far as standard units are concerned, question says that Harish should have produced 200 units. Base rate is available in terms of rupees 180 per hour, 180 per hour, 220 per hour. Gross wages as per books, 9,500, 8,500 and 12,000. Now please understand what is happening. Look at Mohan. Look at the first row. I hope you understand the meaning of row. Yeah. Look at the first row. Mohan. Mohan Dada, you have paid him 9,500. Company has paid him 9,500. Now your assistant says that this 9,500 is wrong. Company says 9,500. Your assistant says that is wrong. Now, if you want work of your assistant to be verified, you must know the right answer. Suppose you calculate wages and the amount comes to 9,000. You calculate wages and amount comes to 9,000. You got 9,000, which is the right answer. Company has paid 9,500. That means there is a mistake. And if there is a mistake, that means your assistant is right. Remember one thing, you're not supposed to stop at wages to comment on that. So you first calculate right wages, compare that with wages as per books. If they differ, there is a mistake. And since there is a mistake, your assistant is right because he's the one who's saying that there is a mistake. I hope you're understanding this. John, 8,500 company has paid. You calculate your wages as per your own calculation. That amount also comes to 8,500. That means according to you, wages should be 8,500. According to the company, wages should be 8,500. Is there any mistake? No. If there is no mistake, that means this time your assistant is wrong. Because he's the one who's saying that this amount is wrong. I hope you're understanding the twist. You're not supposed to calculate only wages. You're not supposed to comment whether it is right or wrong. Remember, it has already been told to you that it is wrong. So if it is really wrong, your assistant is right. And if it is right, that means your assistant is wrong. I hope you are getting this part. Fantastic. Total hours of Mohan include 6 overtime hours. Now we already know that. We have already split that. They have not specified anything for John, but it is a common sense. Anything beyond 40 will be overtime. Prepare a schedule showing whether the above computation of workers' wages is correct or not. Give details. Naturally, we'll have to find it out because he wants us to verify his work. So we'll also write a line on Let me first discuss something here. Minimum wages. Minimum wages are also known as guaranteed wages. Minimum wages are also known as guaranteed wages. Now, how does the concept work? You as an employee, you as a worker, you join some organization and you are getting paid at an hourly rate. You are getting paid at an hourly rate. That means if you work for 100 hours into rate will be your remuneration. If you work for 150 hours into rate will be your remuneration. 200 hours if you work, 200 hours into the rate will be your remuneration. But for that, remember, you're supposed to work. If you work for zero number of hours, if you don't work at all, you will not be paid anything. That means there is a vast possibility that your owner may say, okay boss, this month I don't have work for you. Thank you very much. Come in the next month. Then it's not like salary that even if you are at home or working from home or you're on leave, your salary will be credited. No. Like this is a lockdown period. November 20. This is a lockdown period. It started on 22nd of March. Like I didn't work in the month of April. I didn't receive any remuneration because we all are working on hourly basis. But that's fine. If something happens on a regular basis, then there is a concern because if there is no number of hours worked, there is no remuneration. So any worker joining the organization would need some sort of security. Some sort of security. So a guarantee is given to the worker. See boss, I will give you workload of 1500 hours. I will give you workload of 1500 hours and I am going to pay you 100 rupees per hour. So at least one thing you know, that you will be earning at least 1,50,000 rupees. I have already given you commitment of 1500 hours. I have given you the rate 100 rupees per hour. That means I have to pay you 1,50,000. That is a minimum guaranteed amount. If you work for more than 1500 hours, like for example, if you work for 1800 hours, I will have to pay you 1800 into 100, 1,80,000 instead of 1,50,000. 1,50,000 is just a commitment. And when you get more, don't look at the commitment, look at the more amount, the bigger amount. Obviously, step into the shoes of a worker and tell me, I have given you guarantee for 1,500 hours, actual worked 1,800 hours. Naturally, I have to pay you for 1,800 hours. What if I give you workload of 1,200 hours? What if I give you workload of 1,200 hours? Then 1,200 hours into 100 will be 1,20,000. 1,20,000 will be your amount payable. But I cannot pay you 1,50,000. I have to pay you 1 lakh. I cannot pay you 1,20,000. I have to pay you 1,50,000 because that is a commitment given by me. So I cannot pay you less than 1,50,000. If you work more. If you work less, still 1,50,000 will be paid to you. That gives you security. That gives you a base for financial planning. You know one thing. Okay, 1,50,000 definitely I'm going to earn. Fine, go ahead with it. Plan yourself. You work more, you earn more. Even if you are working less, still 1,50,000 will be paid to you. That is the meaning of guaranteed wages. That gives a security to the worker. So can I say it is nothing but commitment or actual, whichever is higher? Commitment or actual, whichever is higher. or actual, whichever is higher. Is that part clear? Great. So, there is a guaranteed wages to be paid to each worker according to the base rate. I will first handle Mohan, then I will handle John, and then we will go for Harish. Mohan is working under piece rate system. John is also working under piece rate system. Harish is working under percentage. That is, but guaranteed wages are provided to all. So, and I can easily find out whether the amount is right or wrong. If these two don't match, assistant is right because he's the one who's saying that. Assistant is wrong. He shouldn't have taken out the name. You understood? So we are calculating, but we are not stopping it. Comparing that with books, and we are not commenting whether it is right or wrong. We have been told that it is wrong, so comment on that. You are verifying work of the assistant. Let me start. So this will be, this will give me 8820. John, 40 hours into 180, which is a base rate. He has worked for 4 hours extra. So naturally, for 4 hours, he will be given 150%. So 4 hours into 180 into 150%. $8280. Correct? And Mr. Harish has worked for 40 hours. Harish has worked for 40 hours. His base rate, Uri Baba, his base rate is 220. Friends, this is a commitment given. Okay. So basically you need to understand one thing. I cannot pay them less than this. You should know your commitment first. Okay, so this is what the commitment is. Wages as per plan. See, Mohan and John are working on piece rate system. Piece rate is also made available to you, 20 rupees per piece. 455 and 425 units are produced. 455, 425 multiplied by 20. 455. 9,100. 425. 8,500. So if you decide to implement piece rate, your workers should be paid 9,100 and 8,500. Now look at the commitment. Mr. Mohan is committed to get 8820. But as per the plan, as per the piece rate, as per the productivity, he's supposed to get 9,100. What will you do? Commitment or actual? Whichever is higher. Commitment or actual, whichever is higher. Correct? But 9,500 and 8,500 is written here in books. Am I right? Now please understand this. Look at Mohan. Mohan should have paid, we should have paid Mohan 9,100. In books, it is 9,500. Is this right? Is this right? No, it is wrong. That means your assistant is correct because he's the one who's saying this is wrong. So if you're verifying work of your assistant, you must comment that he is right because there is a 500 and company has also paid 8,500. That means wages of John are correctly recorded. They're right. The figures are right. If the figures are right, that means this time your assistant is wrong. So your assistant shouldn't have taken out the name of John because wages of John, the amount is paid as per the requirement. So there is no mistake in wages of John, there is a mistake in wages of Mohan. So only in case of Mohan, assistant is right, but in case of John, assistant is wrong. So the question says in the first line, you're supposed to verify the work. This is how I'm verifying the work. Assistant is right, assistant is wrong. Are you through with the first two? Mind blowing. Let's go for the third one. Third one is Harish is working under percentage bonus plan. Now as far as percentage bonus plan is concerned, we need to understand things first. They have specified something about percentage bonus plan. Please understand. They have told you something related to efficiency ratio. Now efficiency ratio, I don't want you to remember or by heart the formula of efficiency ratio because it is not required. You are students of CA. Okay, you don't need to check the memory. You should have the knowledge. You should have the conceptual understanding of contents. Always remember this. Never by heart things. I'm asking you a very simple question. I should have completed work of 100 units. I have actually produced 80 units in the same span of time. I should have completed 100 units. I have completed 80 units. I should have completed 100 units. I have completed 80 units. I should have 100. I have 80. Do you think I'm efficient? No. If I'm not efficient, that means my efficiency ratio. If I'm not efficient, that means my efficiency ratio must be less than 100. And if my ratio is less than 100, that means my numerator must be lesser than the denominator. In that case, 80 should be the numerator, 100 should be the denominator. And since I want percentage, I'm applying 100. So basically, if I want to know efficiency ratio, it is 80. 80 is actual production. 100 is standard production multiplied by 100. This is how the formula gets derived. This is how your formula gets derived. Actual production upon standard production into 100. Actual output upon standard output into 100. What is question saying? Standard quantities of production per hour are department. That means there is some standard quantities given. Workers average hourly production. Workers average hourly production. That means whatever he used 100 units in 5 hours. If I have produced 100 units in 5 hours, how would you calculate average production? Simple. 100 units divided by 5 units divided by 5 hours. Am I right? Now in that case, if it is 100 units divided by 5 hours, it is 20 units per hour. It is 20 units per hour. Correct? Now, how did you get it? Average hourly production, if you want to find out, you have to take actual quantity and you have to divide it by actual hours. Average hourly production determined from his total hours and his production. Total hours and his production. So basically they are just trying to explain how to calculate hourly production. My brilliant friends already know about it. So can I say workers' actual hourly production is divided by standard production. Actual hourly production divided by standard production. Actual production divided by standard. Actual divided by standard must give me the efficiency ratio. So basically they are just trying to explain how to get efficiency ratio. Actual production upon standard production, but formula mein tada change hai. It is going to be actual hourly production and standard hourly production. This is just because my question is saying that. Means instead of actual output upon standard output, your formula is actual hourly output upon standard hourly output. That will give you efficiency ratio, and this efficiency ratio is then applied to the base rate. Okay, let me first find out actual hourly production. Harishwa, Harish where hai? Harish has actually produced 250. Harish should have produced 200. So standard production 200 units. Actual production 250 units into 100. They are not interested in total, they are interested in hourly rate. Total hours 40. But now understand one thing, I am doing something different. Oh my God, what is he doing? Please concentrate here. Harish has worked for 40 hours. Actually, Harish is being paid for 40 hours, which includes 4 hours downtime. Downtime, idle time. As I told you, idle time is always due to some infrastructural issue. Power failure, power fluctuation, electricity goes off, or machine breakdown, lack of material. Whatever it is, yeah. Whatever it is. I can tell you one thing. Workers are not responsible for that. And since workers are not responsible for that, they are paid for. Even if there is an idle time of 4 hours, they will be paid for 4 hours. What is the reason? They are not responsible. Down, they are getting paid for, and with the same reason, I should not consider idle time while evaluating their efficiency. So if you analyze this properly, they were supposed to produce 200, they have actually produced 250, but they have not produced 250 in 40 hours, they have produced 250 in 40 minus 4. Actually, they have taken only 36 hours. Actually, they have taken only 36 hours. So I don't have a right to consider I don't have a right to consider 40 hours in the actual calculation. So 6.94 divided by 5, 138.8% approx, because we have rounded it off. Have you clearly understood this? Absolutely clear. Wonderful. This was the most important point here. Whenever there is an idle time, even if it is paid for, whenever there is an idle time, even if it is paid for, it is never considered as a part of efficiency evaluation. Reason for both is same. Workers are paid for idle time because they are not responsible for idle time, and idle time is not considered while evaluating their efficiency. Same reason. They are not responsible for idle time. So instead of 40 actual hours, I have taken 36. Now the efficiency ratio is 138.8%. On his base rate, 138.8%. If he was 80% efficient, I would have applied 80%. If he was 120% efficient, I would have applied 120%. So that comes to around 12214 approximately. See, because of rounding off, your amount may change here and there. Now tell the commitment. Commitment was 8,800. Actual work done 12,214. So naturally, commitment or actual, whichever is higher, is to be paid. 12,214 I'm supposed to pay them. Pay this fellow Harish. How much I have paid as per the company? 12,000 I have paid as per the company's policy. I should have paid 12,214. That means indeed there is a mistake. Definitely there is a mistake. If there is a mistake, that means your assistant is correct, because he was the one who was saying that there is a mistake. So you have not only calculated actual wages, you are not commenting on whether it is right or wrong. You calculate wages, find out whether they are correctly recorded in books or not. But you don't comment whether it is right or wrong. It is being already told to you that it is wrong. You simply comment on that. 9,100, 9,500. It was a mistake. That means assistant was right. $12,214 I should have paid. I have paid 12,000. That's a mistake. That means again assistant is right. This is what you are supposed to do in this question. I'll just simply give you a note here. For efficiency evaluation, idle time should not be considered as workers are not responsible for idle time. For efficiency evaluation, idle time should not be considered as workers are not responsible for idle time. So instead of 40 hours, we considered 36 hours. Instead of 40 hours, we considered 36 hours. And the second important point was, you are not supposed to comment whether amount is right or wrong. It is already told to you that the amount is wrong. You simply comment on your assistant's work. Now you have verified that your assistant work also calculated total wages. So from this question, you have answered the first part. He wants you to verify his work. Done. And on the last line, it was given that prepare a schedule giving whether or not computation of wages are correct or not. Both these questions are answered. Now, the next concept I want to discuss with you people is of labor turnover. Now, labor turnover, what do you mean by labor turnover? We don't sell workers. It's not sale of workers. Turnover is not sales. Labor turnover means change in the labor force. Labor turnover means change in the labor force. Now, any organization which is into a manufacturing business needs workers, and every year, every organization faces labor turnover. A few people may leave your organization, a few people may join the organization. So there is a change in the labor force every year. And that change in the labor force is known as labor turnover. Now there are several reasons for people leaving your organization. There can be expectation of high remuneration, anticipation of some growth. You don't find that your future is secured in this organization, you shift somewhere else. There can be termination, or there can be a disciplinary action where you have to throw your workers out. There can be death. There can be an It is sad that in India still women are forced to stay at home. But then that is a reason, you can't challenge it. It's a personal reason. But due to all these reasons, workers leave the organizations. Workers leaving organization create a void. Now to fill that void, to overcome that situation of vacancy, you appoint new workers. But see, remember, no matter how skilled your new workers are, they are new to the organization. When your workers are new to the organization, they will take time to get settled. You may be required to provide them training, right? So things do take time. So whenever there is a labor turnover, there is a time lapse. Whatever you would have produced in that span of time, had there been no labor turnover, whatever you would have produced in that span of time will not be produced now. So there is a loss of productivity, there is a loss of profit. Since you're not producing units, you cannot sell them. If you cannot sell them, whatever profit you had thought of recovering or earning from the market, that profit is lost. So there is a loss of profit. Plus you get a new team which may take time to get settled. And if they are taking time to get settled, that means not only loss of time, but there will be a different efficiency. Person to person marking is fine, but he may not be equally efficient. No? Exact efficiency will not match. So these are different drawbacks of labor turnover. What are we supposed to do with labor turnover? In employee cost calculation, in labor costing topic, ICAI has a very ICAI is very fond of this concept of labor turnover, and there can be a question based on calculating labor turnover ratios. is change in the labor force. That is fine. That part you already know. Due to labor turnover, total cost increases because we have to incur many expenses like settlement. Those who leave, their settlement, their gratuity, their payment, whatever amount you're supposed to pay them in order to settle their accounts. Now, if they leave, there is a vacancy, void. And to fill that, you'll have to go for recruitment. For recruitment, you'll have to do advertisement. You'll have to give advertisement in the newspaper or anywhere. You'll have to contact HR agencies for recruitment. Then you conduct exams, interviews. You select people. So recruitment and selection. After selection, you realize they know nothing about your organization. So provide them training. Everything we could have avoided had there been no labor turnover. So these are basically these are different effects of labor turnover. Efficiency of new workers will be less than old workers in the beginning, and due to that production will decrease. You also know this part. We have also discussed this. Now see, I told you, this can be labor turnover can be of two types. One is separation and the other one is replacement. One is separation, the other one is replacement. Like you have on an average 1,000 employees. Now how do you calculate average employees? Employee on the first day, employee on the last day. Get the total divided by 2. Just like the way you calculate average stock. So on an average I have 1,000 employees. 80 left the organization and 20 were discharged from the organization, retrenched from the organization. 80 left. 20 were thrown out by you. Doesn't matter. Total separation is 100 only, no? You leave someone or someone leaves you. Doesn't matter. In both the cases, it is separation only. I hope you are understanding what I am saying. You leave someone or someone leaving you. Doesn't matter. It is separation. And that happens in costing also. So 80 left, 20 discharged, retrenched. So can I say my separation ratio is 10%? My separation ratio is 10%. Now you should know the most important fact of life. Whenever there is a separation, see to it there is a replacement. Whenever there is a separation, see to it there is a replacement. The show must go on. I mean, you must continue with the routine production process. Production of the product. Manufacturing process. Okay. So, whenever there is a separation, there is a replacement. Now, 100 left. I recruited 80. If 100 left, I recruited 80. My replacement will be 80. 100 left, I recruited 80. My replacement will be 80. 100 left, I recruited 180. My replacement is not 180. 100 left, I recruited 180. Out of 180, maximum replacement can be 100 only, no? For replacement, there has to be someone, no? So out of 180, 100 will replace the position of those who left. Balance 80 will be for expansion plan. This total recruitment is known as accession. And out of that, 100 will be known as replacements. Are you understanding this part? 180 is known as accession, total recruitment. But your replacement can't be more than separation, no? 100 separated, maximum 100 replacement. If I tell you 180 recruited, out of 90 were replacing those who left. Then yes, replacement will be 90. Then don't go for 100. That means work of 100 will now be done by 90 people. Separation is different. Accession is different. Accession is total recruitment. For replacement you have to be very careful. Generally replacement cannot exceed separation. So 100 left, 100 recruited. 100 is a replacement. 100 left, 180 recruited. 100 will be replacement. 100 left, 180 recruited, only 80 are replacing those who left. Then in that case, replacement will be 80. Is that part clear? And these are the formulas to be used. These are the formulas to be used. Simple it is. Number of workers separated upon average for separation method. Number of workers replaced upon average, and flux is the overall impact. Flux is the overall impact of separation and overall movement in the organization. Now, they may ask you to calculate labor turnover ratio based on accession also. Keep it simple. Number of accession upon average workers into 100. If you are following accession, then flux will be separation plus accession. Earlier it was separation plus replacement, because replacement was the base. Now, if the base is accession for you, accession will be taken into consideration. So if you really want to know my example, it goes this way. If you recollect, separated 100, accession 180, replacement 90. Am I right? Average number of employees 1000. So separation will be 100 upon 1000 into 100, because we need percentage. Replacement will be 90 upon 1000 into 100. 100 plus 90 upon 1000 into 100. 19%. If you want accession to be taken as a base, then please take 180 upon 1000 into 100. 18. And this will be 100 separation, 180 accession. 100 separation, 180 accession divided by 1000 into 100. So this will be 28%. Separation is a common thing. Either you will go for separation, replacement, flux based on replacement. Either you will go for separation, replacement, flux based on replacement, or you will go for separation, accessions, flux based on accession. Doesn't matter. 5 answers. Separation formula, either be that will be followed by replacement flux, or that will be followed by accession flux. This flux will be based on separation plus replacement. This flux will be based on separation plus accession. Overall impact. They will simply ask you to calculate ratios. You already have this part in the theory, so don't copy anything. I was just taking the example by solving it here itself. Let's go for a question. Question number 17. Question number 17. Calculate labor turnover rate and labor flux rate. They have not specified whether it is based on replacement or accession, so we'll try to give both. Number of workers as on 1st of Jan, number of workers on 31st December. So average will be 7,600, 8,400 upon 2. 7,600 plus 8,400 divided by 2. During the year, 80 workers left. Can I say this is separation? And 320 workers were discharged. Even this is separation. So total separation 400. 80 left. 320 discharged. What does that mean? What does that mean? 1,500 workers were recruited. What is it? What is it? This is your accession. 400 left. 1,500 accession. Don't read the next line. Let me revise something. 400 left. 1,500. 1,500 is accession. How much will be the separation? Maximum. 400. Then how much will be the replacement? 400 only. Unless they give you something. 400 separated. Only 400 can be replaced. Right? Right. 300 workers recruited because of exits and the rest were recruited for expansion plan. Now it is pretty clear that 400 is separation, 300 is replacement and 1,500 is accession. I hope this part is clear. 80 left, 320 discharge, 400 separation. 80 left, 320 discharge, 400 separation. 300 are replacement. They are recruited because of exits. So 400 separated, 300 replaced. So 300 is replacement and 1,500 is accession. 300 includes 1,500 includes that 300 figure. But accession is 1,500, replacement is 300 and your separation is 400. Average 8,000. What are we supposed to calculate? Labor turnover rate? Okay, let me reach here. You can solve it later on in the notebook, that's not an issue. So 400 upon 8,000 into 100. So 5% is separation. 300 upon 8,000 into 100. And flux will be? Flux will be 400 separation, 300 replacement, 8,000 average. Why is this happening to me? So 400 separation, 300 replacement, 700. 700 will be divided by 8,000. That comes to 8.75%. 1500 upon 8000. This will be 18.75. In that case, your flux will be 400 separation, 1500 is accretion divided by 8000. 8000. So 1500 plus 400 divided by 8000. 23.75. So, my lovely students, separation 5%, replacement 3.75, flux based on replacement 8.75, accretion 18.75, flux based on accretion 23.7. That's what your solution is. First three. And then